So in this video, what I want to go over is the importance of incorporating refeed days when you're doing a fat loss program and a fasting day when you're doing a muscle development program, okay? These are some really great techniques you can use to continue to see results while also giving yourself a little bit of a break from your program. So here's the thing, starting with your goal, fat loss. So if your goal is fat loss, tune in. And if your goal is still muscle development, but you also want to see some fat loss, tune in here. So typically on a fat loss program, you want to be in a deficit of calories. That means you're eating this many calories less than you burn each day. You want to be in a deficit of about 500 to 1,000 calories per day. That will set you up to lose 1 to 2 pounds of fat per week, plus a little bit more weight from water loss. We've talked about this in another video, but it's important here to notice what we're going to do slightly differently. So let's say each day you're in this 500 to 1,000 calorie deficit because you've been working out on these days. And then on the weekend, you want to have a cheat meal, or like I like to call them refeed meals, because here's the thing, there's no cheating if it's planned, right? If this is an appropriately balanced meal, tied in with how active you are and how clean you're eating throughout the week, then it's not really cheating. It's just a planned, fun, guilt-free meal. So I call it a refeed meal. So if you're working out and eating well on these other days where you're burning 500 to 1,000 calories, one day of the week, you can have a guilt-free refeed meal and eat in a surplus of calories, or even break even calories, meaning you're eating the same calories that you burned for that day. Typically, clients like to do this on Fridays or Saturdays because those are the higher frequency of days when you're going to be dining out typically, or ordering food in your house. So what you want to do is eat well, eat on your meal plan, and exercise Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever day you don't have this refeed meal. Then one day a week, you would have a refeed meal. Now what that means is you would be able to eat relatively within reason, whatever you want. If it's unhealthy, if it's healthy, it doesn't really matter. Do still try to hit your macronutrient goals, proteins, carbs, and fats, but it's okay if you go off of that a little bit for this one meal. Not a whole day, by the way, one meal, okay? So don't call this a cheat day or a refeed day, even though I said days at the top. What I should say is meals, okay? But there's one day where you have one refeed meal. So it says instead of being in a deficit of 500 to 1,000 calories, you're in a deficit of 0 calories, so break even. Or you can go into a surplus of about 800 to 1,000 calories for that day total because of one meal. And then you get back on the program, eating in a deficit again, and elevating your activity level. What this will do is a few different things. You're going to get a sense of reward. So you're adhering to this program, you're working out 3 to 6 days a week, you're creating this deficit throughout the week. And what that's going to allow you to do is reward yourself and have a sense of accomplishment by enjoying a fun meal guilt-free. It's also going to keep you sane. It's going to create some mental sanity. It's going to give you a break from the program so that you're not feeling so deprived that you just give up the program altogether, okay? And with that, I want you to keep that in mind, that you want to make your program sustainable. So giving yourself 1, maybe 2 refeed meals throughout the week, depending on how active you are, how many workouts you're doing, is perfectly workable. For every 3 days that I do an intense workout and burn in a deficit of about 1,000 calories a day, I allow myself 1 refeed meal for every 3 largely physically active days, okay? If you want more aggressive fat loss, I would limit it to 1 per week, okay? This is also muscle preserving. So what that means is, as you start to diet, if you stay in this deficit for too long and you're not eating enough protein or doing enough resistance training, then you're going to be losing weight from muscle mass, and you don't want that. So make sure on these days you're eating enough protein, but on these refeed days, it will give your body also a break. Not just a mental break, but a physical break. It will give you a higher amount of protein. It'll give you a higher amount of carbohydrates and fats. It will send a hormonal signal to your body to relax and chill out. It's okay. We're not going to die. We're not starving to death, because look at this big influx of food we got. And that tricks your body into allowing you to continue to burn fat. So that's one of the things to notice is, yes, you're not going to burn fat on this day, but giving yourself that refeed meal is going to allow you to keep burning fat as the weeks come by, rather than causing your metabolism to slow down. Okay, so that's one of the best things. It's muscle preserving, and it will promote continued fat loss. Okay, so schedule one refeed meal on one day of the week for every 3 to 4 workouts that you do. Okay. Next, muscle growth or weight gain. So if you have any amount of fat loss goal, you should start with the fat loss program. If you have a muscle development goal only and you're fine with your fat levels, I would follow this protocol because it's possible to gain fat even when you are focusing only on muscle growth. And this is how you're going to mitigate the fat gain though. You only really need to be in a surplus of about 250 calories per day, okay? Some people tell you eat copious amounts of food. You don't really need to do that. Rarely do I even eat in a 500 calorie surplus when I'm focused on a muscle or weight building goal. A surplus of 250 calories per day in the right ratios according to your meal plan, meaning you're eating this many more calories than you're burning for the day, that alone will set you up to gain approximately at the most aggressive goal about 1 pound of muscle per week, which is very aggressive. So some people can't even see that result. But 250 calories surplus per day, okay? So you do your lifting session, 250 calories additional, 250 calories additional, all throughout the weekdays. And then you can still, maybe incorporate a refeed or fun meal on the weekend. That's fine because your goal is to gain weight. So it's actually okay so long as you're following a healthy plan and most of the weight you're gaining is muscle mass. And you're not going into a surplus more than 250 to 500 calories per day. But on Sunday, it could be a different day, but I like Sunday the most typically because that allows me some food freedom on the weekend here. Be in a 1,000 calorie deficit for the day as if you were doing a fat loss goal. Or better yet, because you've been in a surplus of calories, you could even fast this day. Doing a 16-hour to 24-hour fast from food, but not from water. That will allow your body to enter a fat burn state temporarily for that time frame and allow your body to burn off a little bit of fat, even though for most of the week you've been in a caloric surplus gaining weight. This won't burn off muscle mass, especially if you're resistance training and eating enough protein. And what that will allow you to do is it will control the fat gain. So this is how you do a clean bulk. Some people do what we call dirty bulking, and that's when you just put on a lot of weight, but not a lot of it's muscle. It's mostly body fat. So you don't want to do that. I imagine you want more muscle and less or the same level of body fat that you already have. So it controls excess fat gain by doing a fasting day or a calorie deficit day once a week. Okay, for some people, you might want to put that in 2 times a week, like Wednesday, Saturday, or Thursday, Sunday. You could also do that. I would just put it in on a resting day. So if I have a surplus of calories, I'm lifting on those days. I'm not resting. If I have a deficit day, I'm not lifting. I am resting or doing light activity, okay? So then, other results besides controlling fat gain is it's going to cause sensitivity to nutrient uptake. What that means is by being in this deficit, your body has been used to getting all this excess of energy and nutrients. So when you starve it temporarily for a day only, it's going to create a hormonal signal that is creating sensitivity to nutrients. So on Monday, when you go back to eating again, it's going to pull in more of those nutrients into your muscle, fill up your muscle bellies with more energy from your carbohydrate-based foods primarily, and pull in more protein than it normally would. This concept is called super compensation. It just means you're hypersensitive to nutrient uptake and it'll pull more into the muscle than on normal high surplus calorie days. It's also going to decrease inflammation. So it's going to reduce stress. It's going to decrease inflammation and swelling in your body that may have happened from all this heavy lifting plus high caloric intake. Sometimes you eat foods that are pro-inflammatory and it creates inflammation. So you'll notice, your muscles may look slightly flatter. That's actually okay. They're not decreasing in size. It's just a temporary reduction in glycogen or food energy. It's going to cause water loss, so you're not going to be holding on to as much water weight because you're excreting more salt, and it's just going to decrease swelling and inflammation overall. It's also going to promote more muscle mass because of that nutrient uptake concept. It's going to actually create that sensitivity that's going to allow you to continue building more muscle because your body is sensitive to pulling up more carbs and more protein into the muscle. And it's going to burn fat while building muscle, obviously. So this day, you're going to probably go into a deficit or you're going to go into a fat burn state for at least 4 hours, if not a little bit higher. And then that way you can shave off a little bit of fat so that you're gaining mostly muscle weight. So you guys, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if it was or wasn't. If you have other questions, I'm happy to answer them. But if your goal is fat loss, do a refeed day once a week. a refeed meal once a week. And if your goal is muscle gains, do a deficit day or a fasting day once per week. Cool? All right, guys, thanks. See you later.